So, hi Dave.
Hi, Katrine. Hi, everyone. I hope I'm coming into you clear. My name is Dave Del Rosario. I'm from the Philippines. Super happy to be here. And of course, thanks for inviting us to showcase the Philippine startup ecosystem. Just to introduce myself, I'm currently the senior program lead for the ecosystem development at QBO Innovation Hub. And again, today I'm going to present to everyone the current landscape of the Philippine startup ecosystem and how we can potentially work together and supporting our startups here. Just to give everyone a quick background about what we do at Kubo, we're the first national innovation and startup hub based in Manila, and actually was born through the public and private partnership between Idea Space, which is one of the largest private accelerators in the country. We also have JP Morgan, the Science and Technology Department, and the Trade and Industry Department of the Philippines. We are established to really strengthen the startup ecosystem and bridge opportunities to our startup founders. Thus, we have lots of programs open to any stages and focus of our startups. Other than our funding partners, we are also backed by the ICT department of the country and different private sectors, really helping us scale our programs and reach a wider audience and support our startups in their day-to-day operation. Our goal is really to support different startup founders as they build their ideas. Thus, our core action revolves around these three things, which is to encourage collaboration with both local and international players, to develop the community by creating more relevant and impact programs, and bring more opportunities to the founders, and build a robust startup ecosystem in the country. We do different programs and initiatives that include Startup National Roadshow to create awareness. We do different mappings and reports to map out opportunities and solve challenges in different local startup ecosystem. Series of startup classes, hackathons, and boot camps and workshops tailor fitted to the needs of every startup founders, and lots of academic and corporate development to assist this institution in establishing their own startup programs and bridge opportunities to the founders. So allow me to discuss more about our startup ecosystem. This whole journey started way back 2010, if I'm not mistaken, when few startups were born and the first startup weekend was organized. It's a 10-year-old ecosystem, and I'd like to highlight some key changes that we have seen over the years. So just to share it to everyone why the Philippines is actually a good place to start a startup. For the last couple of years, we've seen so many founders, so many investors, champions, and enablers in the country, and would like to think that one big reason is because of our rising economy. Our GDP is rising with a growth rate of 6.7%, and electronics are actually becoming one of our top exports aside from BPO and food. Also, our investment grade is also rising, which became one good reason why startups thrive in the country. We also have, as you know, a very huge population. We're currently at 110 million population with a median age of 24 years old, which normally comprises of this tech-savvy and innovative people in the country. And the huge market opportunity as well as the capability of the most of the Filipinos to adapt to this new technological advancement brought in the market is also an advantage for startup founders. Over the last 10 years, we've seen the growth of startups in the country. We currently have around 700 startups to date. But not just that. Now we are happy to see that the number of angel investors and venture capitalists are increasing. Different incubators and accelerators and co-working spaces are being established, not just in the Manila, not just in the capital, but almost in each part of the country. We see this as a result of the joint efforts and dedication of different educational institutions, different private organizations, and government to really support the ecosystem and the startup founders in the country. So if you try to look more the Philippine startup ecosystem, you will see that this still young, but there's actually a big potential and embedded capabilities that make it try for startups to really thrive in the country. To add on to what I have mentioned earlier, the Filipinos actually also named as the best country for global investment by Wharton last 2018. And definitely our demographic is a sweet spot, having a very huge market and tech savvy people. If you also try to map out the presence of the Filipinos worldwide, we're everywhere, and that help I think the ecosystem gain different international recognition and be connected to different international markets. And aside from these, of course, it's more fun in the Philippines, as we always say. And I think that it's about time to really find the next big startup. It's about time to get recognition, not just because of our Boracay Island, not just because of Manny Pacquiao or the sweetest mangoes or the Miss Universe titles, but because we're also able to produce startups that actually change the way we live and really solve pressing problems in the community. Just to add to that, in the 2019 Global Startup Ecosystem Report by Startup Genome, Manila was actually named as one of the top activation phase ecosystem in the world. We're also identified as one of the top 10 in the global ecosystem for the Bank for Back and top 5 in activation ecosystem for connectedness. Um, the Manila city also ranked 36 globally in this global startup ecosystem report by Startup Genome's inaugural ranking of the world's top 100 emerging startup ecosystem. Actually, the value of Manila startup ecosystem is at USD $1.6 billion. And I'd like to think that one of the main reasons why we are enjoying this title is because of, again, the collective efforts of the public and private sectors in really helping change the ecosystem. And the expectation is actually that Manila startup ecosystem will grow rapidly in size for the next coming years. And that is why in our 2019 report, we highlight Manila as one of the fastest growing startup ecosystem worldwide. Also, the Philippines is also slowly but steadily risen in the rankings year over year, according to the report made by StartupBlink. We're now on the 53rd ranking after an increase of one spot. And there are also a total of three cities representing the Philippines in the ranking. So if anyone plans to visit the Philippines, make sure to put these places in your list and do check what the local startup ecosystem can offer. There's Manila in the 80th spot. We have Cebu in the 41st spot and Cagayan de Oro in the 580th spot. Also, the report identifies that fintech and e-commerce is the Manila's subsector strengths. Fintech companies here account for almost 15% of Manila startups, with actually a transaction value of around 10 billion USD in 2019 and actually expected to grow by 24% last year while taking into account, the expected impact of COVID-19. E-commerce startups are also growing in the Philippines, and we hope that through the Philippines e-commerce roadmap 2022, to really improve logistics and e-payments, it would help boost online business activities among these startups. We always have these reasons to move your startup in Manila, and basically, we have a very experienced tech talent and a very young workforce in the country. Um, that gives founders an experienced pool of employees to draw from. And definitely the startup support that we have right now, again, with the recent private and public efforts and developments, the Philippine startup ecosystem continues to thrive and exponentially scale to be the next startup hotspot to watch in Southeast Asia. Over the last 3 to 5 years, we also have seen the strong support of the government in building a strong startup ecosystem. The three agencies, including the Science and Technology Department, the Trade and Industry Department, and the ICT Department, have actually created a tripartite agreement to support the ecosystem for the next years to come. And this actually has resulted in different policies, different programs and initiatives geared towards creating more opportunities, more supports and benefits, not just to the founders, but as well as to the startup players and enablers. Currently, we have this innovative startup act, which was signed into law last 2019, that basically aims to strengthen, to promote, and develop the startup ecosystem in the country. The rise of different university-based technology business incubator in the country has also resulted to a change in mindset of the students and help them embrace entrepreneurship during their college days. The Startup Pilipinas program that aims to foster linkages among MSMEs. We also have different startup research grant from the government that provides financial assistance and business resources to boost startup traction, and of course, this Startup Pinay that aims to support female-led startup founders and actually reduce the gender gap in the tech space of the country. Also, through the support of the Trade and Industry Department and the Startups Pinay initiative, we have been regularly conducting mapping all around the country. This mapping aims to bring together ecosystem builders, leaders, and stakeholders to discuss and identify the existing support available to their startups across the country, as well as identify key insights and future initiatives to boost the startup landscape. The findings showed that most of the places we have visited over the last 2 years are still on the nascent stage, but two big cities are actually classified as on accelerating and foundational ecosystem. Their programs and initiative were put in place already, and they're enjoying a lot of opportunities from both local and international players coming in and supporting the ecosystem. Just want to end my presentation by also sharing some key takeaways from the PwC Startup Survey with regards to the COVID-19. As you can see in the slide, it tackles the actions implemented by the startup founders during the ECQ, and majority of the respondents said that they have reduced their level of operations and actually started offering new product services. The findings also stated that 64% of the respondents would be needing at least around 5 million, around $100,000 to normalize their operation. So I think that's pretty much it. The Philippine startup ecosystem, with the continued support, I think, of the private and public sectors and different international players, we're positive that the Philippines will eventually bounce back from this pandemic. Really continue to produce world-class startups, and we really hope to inspire the next gen founders who create their startups and solve the world's pressing needs and problems. So our team at Kubo has been active in the scene for the last 4 years, doing different initiatives like Startup Pinay. We're also supporting different technology-based incubators. We have launched the Philippine Startup Week since last 2019 and plan to continue it annually to celebrate the Filipino startup spirit. And once again, the big goal is really to find the next Filipino startup founders that can change the world. And we believe that that time is now to really bring in more opportunities and support for them to thrive. So thank you so much for listening and for this opportunity. Would love to collaborate with you guys. Send us an email at hello@kubo.com.ph or visit our website at kubo.com.ph.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for sharing to us about the Manila startup ecosystem.